Beef stroganoff. There's a ton of videos for this. I'm gonna make my version and I think you're gonna love my version. Here are all the ingredients. Let's get into it right now. So beef stroganoff, I always like to go over all the ingredients before we get going. And there are a lot of ingredients here, but I assure you this dish is below medium difficulty to get a really good result because you're making just a delicious beef mushroom gravy essentially, and you're putting it over egg noodles. I can't fit everything over in front of me today. These are just Pennsylvania Dutch extra wide egg noodles. So I have a little bit more in the pound here. Everything we're gonna make here will be enough for a little bit more than that. I hate when you don't have enough sauce for a pound of pasta, so we got you covered there. The beef that I'm using today, my cut of choice is flank steak. I have the whole flank here, which is too much. We're not gonna need that much.
Are there other cuts of beef?
Yes, and we normally use flank steak for stroganoff. It has a great texture. Like the way the grain runs, you can just easily cut it against the grain. And we're gonna do all that in a second. And it's not as expensive as something like skirt steak, which is also delicious for stroganoff. I mean, you'll see recipes that even use fillet, but you know, it's like an everyman dish. So you can absolutely use fillet if you want. After we cut it in a second, we're gonna put allspice on it, nutmeg, and Worcestershire sauce. So we're gonna do a little marinade. We wanna get it in the fridge for a couple hours. If you do this overnight with the marinade, it will be even better. Onions, cut them root to stem. They won't curl up. They'll stay like kind of in a line like this. So I cut off the root end, cut off the stem end, and that is 2 medium or even like large yellow onions. We have 1.5 pounds of mushrooms. I don't want you to slice these really thin. You can cut them very thick like this. The smaller mushrooms, you can just cut in half. Essentially, all we're doing is making like brown gravy here. So the ingredients for that gravy are gonna be 3 cups of stock. We have garlic, about 5 cloves that are minced. We're gonna put more Worcestershire in the sauce. So in addition to the 1 tablespoon for the beef marinade, we're gonna put another 2 tablespoons in it. This is 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. In addition to that mustard, we have a 1/2 cup of sour cream, 1/4 cup of flour. That's gonna make our roux, it's gonna make our sauce a lot thicker. We have the 1/2 cup of heavy cream that goes in, 1/2 cup of white wine. White wine is really good. It will give it like a much better zing to this. You can also use brandy, you can use cognac, you can use red wine. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. And you're asking, can you not use wine? Absolutely, you don't have to use wine. Butter, I have 6 tablespoons of butter here. 1/2 of that to make our gravy. The other 3 tablespoons are gonna be mixed with our noodles, okay, for buttered noodles. And then we have olive oil as well. That's gonna help also in the saute process. We'll use 3, 4, 5 tablespoons of that. Oh, and we have vegetable oil too to sear our beef because we wanna get a really good sear on it. Don't worry, this is easy. Let's get into cutting that beef right now. So I have 2 sharp knives here. We're gonna take care of business right now for our beef. I have the whole flank here, which is roughly 2.5 pounds. So I'm gonna dry it off now, but we'll dry it off again later. I trimmed a lot of the fat off of it. This is pretty good right now. So since it's 2.5 pounds, I'll probably take that much off, and I'll just save that for another purpose. I want to get 2-inch pieces that are fairly thin. So I'm gonna cut it actually with the grain right now, like this. So I got these 4 pieces like this. Lines this way, we're gonna cut this way. Tara was just saying that she's a little beefed out. You're all beefed out, Tara? Too much beef?
You've been making too much beef lately.
So actually I made this 3 times.
It was okay. It could have been better, but then the next time it was amazing.
And I'll tell you why it's amazing. There's this one ingredient called allspice. So I have 2 teaspoons of it right here. And that's gonna go on. It's easier just to put half of it on than put the other half on. Okay, so we have 1.5 pounds of beef. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using Morton's kosher salt, 1/2 teaspoon nutmeg. All right, mix that together. I wanna like really get this, and this is why I want you to marinate this thing for 2 hours or maybe overnight. The flavor profile you get from this. So I'm gonna put the meat in a bag. And now I have 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce too on it. I'm gonna put this in the fridge for 2 hours. Really patted it dry. There's a 14-inch stainless steel pan, it's huge. I'm gonna heat it up to medium heat, maybe a touch more, but you don't need to go really high on your stainless pan. You're gonna get a perfect sear even at medium heat. The more important thing, if you get enough moisture off of this. This is stainless, let's let it heat up for 3 minutes before we sear it so it doesn't stick. Okay, it's only been 2 minutes. Let's see if our pan is ready. Take just a touch of water, little balls. That's hot, okay? It might even be a touch too hot than I need. I'm using avocado oil here, but use vegetable oil or whatever oil, not olive oil. Something that you can sear a little bit better, has a little bit higher smoke point. Just like that much, you don't need that much. And I'm just gonna go like this to spread it around. And now I'm just gonna pat the beef dry and let's just get it in there. Try to push it around, spread it apart. And we're gonna do 2 batches here just so we can get a better sear. Once you spread it out, just leave it alone. Okay, it's only been about a minute and pieces that are in the middle of your heat will be nice and brown like that. So I'm just gonna turn them over and just cook them for another minute. But this is like building a little bit of flavor here. All right, so move it to a pan and then we'll do the next batch. Make sure you pat your beef dry. If you have any excess moisture in here, just pat it dry, remove it, or it's gonna prevent your beef from browning on the next batch. All right, we're looking pretty good. Not burning though, we are getting a little bit brown over there. Okay, spread it out again and then just leave it alone. So I've had medium heat. This is why I wanted to do it this way. I wanted to show you. You can see if the pan is starting to blacken a lot, we might have burnt the bottom. And again, if you did this in a regular pan and did the whole thing, you could ruin your whole entire meal. I really feel like it's important to demonstrate this. I'm gonna show you how to test it if it's all right. All right, so I'm just gonna flip them over again, try to get, most of the sides done. All right, so I'm just gonna remove all this beef. Okay, and then you can see it's black over here, but that's fine. What I want you to do, I have the 3 cups of beef stock. We're just gonna deglaze with about a half a cup, okay? About 2 ladles worth. Okay, now turn up your heat to high, and then just remove all the brown bits, okay, with the bottom of your spoon. It works a lot better if you have a flat edge spoon like this, because then you can just go right in and scrape them off. So it smells good, doesn't smell burnt. Turn this off, and don't pour this liquid into your 2.5 cups of perfect beef stock. Pour it into just another one. Now all I have to do to make sure this is all right is just taste it. Delicious. But if that pan was a little bit blacker, possible that it would have a burnt taste, and the last thing you would want to do would be to put it into your stroganoff. I have now this pan. Now you could have done it in that other pan. You could definitely do, but I like the high wall here because we're making a lot of gravy sauce. Medium heat here. Okay, this is a non-stick pan, so a little different. If I had a stainless in this, I would use that. Pan's good. This is olive oil, just regular olive oil. I'm gonna put in about 3 tablespoons. We can put more oil in. They're gonna absorb it anyway right now. This is 1.5 pounds of thickly sliced mushrooms. Save your bowl because after we sear these, we'll put them back in there. We're gonna let these release their water and then we'll be able to start browning them nicely. The beef is over on the corner, just tented with foil, just to keep warm. Our mushrooms have been going for about 4 minutes. You can see now a lot of water in the pan. Okay, that's what happens. Mushrooms just release their water, then they will start to brown. I have my heat about a 6 out of 10 here. So now you can see the water is evaporated. You can hear it. The pan will sound different now. Now they're gonna brown. It's as simple as this to cook mushrooms. That looks good. All right, let's put them back in here. Put your pan back on. Lower the heat now to about a little bit less than medium. Okay, I'm gonna put the onions in there. Another 3 tablespoons of olive oil, roughly. We're gonna cook them until they're pretty soft. And at this time, start boiling water, 1 gallon of water, 2 tablespoons of salt for your egg noodles. We're gonna do 1 pound of egg noodles. Just cook them to the package instructions. We're not gonna finish this in the sauce. We're making stroganoff here. We're not making Italian food. 3 tablespoons of butter also. You need a lot of fat here because in a couple minutes when we put in the flour to make our little roux, you need enough. So for the amount of onions we have, we need about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 3 tablespoons butter. I mean, you don't have to use olive oil. You could have used 6 tablespoons of butter here too. There ain't nothing wrong with cooking with butter. Not in this house anyway, And there's nothing wrong with beef either, Tara. My onions have gone for about 10 to 12 minutes. That's how they look. Okay, here's the garlic. Just making a little room. And we're just gonna let this go for about 1 or 2 minutes until it gets really nice and fragrant. That's been about 60 seconds. It smells phenomenal. 1/4 cup of flour. Mix that in. Water's about to boil. Here is white wine. We're gonna put it in. Mix this around for about 30 seconds. It's gonna just form this thick paste here. And now we could put our stock in. We wanna bring this to a boil here. Okay, so now I'm boiling, I was whisking, I was running to open my bag of noodles. So now you can lower this to a simmer. Okay, all we have to do now is just add in that 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. That's 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. All the mushrooms back in. And the juices and the steak in there. Distribute all that mustard, everything in here, and just let this very gently simmer. I mean, this looks phenomenal without the cream or the sour cream yet. Yeah, and for some reason, if you didn't want the cream in it, you would be fine eating it just like this. I mean, it would be delicious. Very low simmer. We could put the cream in. This is a half a cup of cream. It's not gonna break it. Just put the cream in first. If you add the sour cream, you risk breaking it, though you probably won't. And then you can add in the sour cream. So this is a half a cup of sour cream. So we did a half a cup sour cream, half a cup heavy cream. And then here are the noodles, okay? Then I just toss them with 3 tablespoons of butter. Feel free to put more butter on if you like. Normally what'll happen is when you just take it off the heat, you let it sit for 5 minutes, it's all gonna start thickening up even more. Okay, I'm gonna turn this down. Final thing we wanna do is taste test this, make sure it's perfect. Really good. I'm gonna put pepper in there, and I'm gonna put a little bit of salt actually. The stock I used was homemade stock with no salt. So I'm definitely gonna need some salt in here. All right, we're gonna serve this up and get the taste tester, James, actually, today. So we have the official taste tester back. Hi, James.
Hi.
Do you want a little bit more gravy on there or not?
Yeah, sure.
I wanna show you that it's thicker now just sitting out for a couple minutes. So I probably could have maybe used a tablespoon more flour. See, that's much thicker now.
Try some of the beef.
I mean, I know you just had it a few days ago, so it should taste exactly the same because it is the same recipe.
Yeah, it does.
How's the beef?
It's good. Like it's good beef. Like, where'd you get it from?
It's flank steak, so it's cut against the grain, so it makes it tender even when it's well done, which is probably what you're noticing, like the chew of it, right?
Mm-hmm. The thing that I like the most, though, is just like the sauce.
The sauce, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like any flavors jump out at you?
Like Worcestershire, that kind of.
It's supposed to be Worcestershire sauce, which makes no sense that a word that is said Worcestershire has like 17 letters in it, you know? Isn't that crazy? We get corrected on that constantly. What do you think of this, James?
I don't know what to say. It's just like really good.
Well, what would you give it a rating? 0 to 10?
I'm gonna give it a 10.
Yes, I knew that was coming because this is so good. Anything that could make it better before we go?
Not really, it's a 10.
All right. We'll see you next time.